Chris, the Idaho Painter. Maybe I should call myself the Idaho Appliance Repairman because we're actually going to be replacing a stove cooktop right here in this house that we're painting the cabinets on. The stove cooktop has got a cracked top on the ceramic top on it right here, and we're going to be putting in a brand new one, and we're going to show you the process. How do you go about doing that? And it's a simple process. We're going to show you right now, so stay tuned to this video. So in removing this cooktop right here, you're only going to need just a few simple little tools. We've got ourselves a couple screwdrivers, a Phillips head and a flathead screwdriver to change out the electrical connections, and then we got ourselves a few rags. We're going to be leaning this thing up to work on it, but prior to doing any of the work on this cooktop, you definitely want to have the electricity turned off to this cooktop. So you're going to have to go to your electrical panel and make sure the breaker is off to this cooktop, because there's an electrical connection coming to this thing and it's pretty hot. You don't want to get shocked by this thing. So we're going to walk you over to the electrical panel, show you how you turn this thing off. So I've located my electrical panel right here, and it's actually in the laundry room, and the electrical panel is all labeled, and we've got a breaker switch right here that's labeled to the stove and the cooktop, and all we're going to want to do is just make sure that thing is flicked and into the off position. Definitely don't want that cooktop on when you're working on it, so just locate your electrical panel, make sure that that thing is turned off, and this breaker switch is turned to the off position. Here's a look at our electrical panel right here and all the labels. We've got one labeled right there that says stovetop, and it's a 30 amp breaker, and we flip that thing to the off position. Now that our electrical power has actually been turned off by the breaker, we're going to get underneath here and undo the electrical connections to this stovetop, so we can just lift it right out. These things are just setting in there. It's very simple and easy to do. I'm going to show you the electrical connections underneath here that we got to undo and take apart. So now here's our stovetop right here. If you look right over here, we've got our electrical connection. This conduit comes down and it's tied right into the wall there. The stovetop comes with the electrical connections already connected and the conduit. So we're just gonna undo these connections right here. They just take a flathead or Phillips head screwdriver to undo them. And we're gonna take a look at those connections. They should be just connected with some wire nuts. So we're just gonna loosen these connections right here to take a look at what we got going on behind our outlet right here. Our conduit is actually connected to the wall right here, so I'm gonna undo. There's just two Phillips head screws. Now I can just pull my conduit out right here, and you can see there's just three connections. There's three wire nuts connecting this with some electrical tape wrapped around them. And I'll just take those apart, and then we'll be able to just lift this cooktop right out of here. So here's a closer look at our electrical connection box right here and the conduit that's coming out of the cooktop that we just got to disconnect right here. So these wire nuts, all they do, they're just got three red wire nuts. They just unscrew pretty simply. Got some electrical tape wrapped around them. I'm just going to take this electrical tape off. So I got these connections all unconnected now. Is just three simple wire nut connections, a couple screws. Now this thing could actually lift out. There are some clamps that actually hold these cooktops in, and they just unscrew. They're like wing nuts. This one didn't have any clamps on it holding it in. It was just setting in this space right here. So now we can actually just lift it out. We're going to show you lifting this thing out now. So now here's our cooktop. I'm just going to close these doors right here, and now these things are actually pretty light and they lift out pretty easily. Good idea to have two people lift this thing out, and so we're going to lift this one out. It's got a cracked top on it, so there's some pieces of glass that might fall out, but let's just get our hands underneath it, and you might have to use some type of tool to get underneath it. You don't want to use a sharp tool that might crack it if you don't want it to break any further. This one's already broken, so we're not worried about it. So now we're just going to lift this thing out. Here's our connection. Just grab our connection, set it aside. This thing's extremely light. I think it's probably no more than maybe 20 pounds. So now we're just gonna move this thing out of the way and get our new one to reinstall. Now we're getting ready to set this new unit. We got all the packing off it. We're gonna set it right back into the hole that the old one came out of. The old one didn't have any supporting brackets on it or anything to hold it down or cinch it down. Make sure you read the instructions in case there's supporting brackets for the model that you have that are required per code to actually install this thing. And if you have to have them per code and it's gonna be inspected, make sure those supporting or mounting brackets are installed previous to setting this unit down. This unit was set into this concrete or this granite slab without any brackets and support, and now we're just gonna lift this. We lifted it out. We're gonna be just reinstalling this new one in the exact same way. Just gonna measure quickly to make sure this is the identical unit, identical hole size before we attempt to put it in. So now we got our unit. We're just gonna lift it up now, turn it around where it's supposed to go. I'm gonna drop my electrical conduit down in. And it just sits right in there, nice and easily. Now we'll begin reconnecting our electrical connections. So the new unit, the conduit, it didn't come with this elbow and this plate right here, so we're just gonna remove this because we're gonna reuse it. Just has a nut that screws the elbow onto this face plate, so we're just gonna remove this nut, move this face plate, and then there's just 2 screws that screw this elbow on. And just like it came off, we're just gonna install this on our new conduit. We're just going to take our wires. You want to twist the wires to make sure they're not frayed and so they're nice and tight. So just twist them in one direction, get them tight. Again, making our electrical connections just with our wire nuts. We're going to screw our wire nuts on, and then for extra security we'll wrap them with electrical tape just like they were before. Just gonna wrap it with electrical tape now. This will make sure those wire nuts are on there secure. It'll keep them from twisting off. Now once those connections are made, you just wanna bend, stuff your wires back into the hole, and then you're gonna screw your plate right back where it was. There was 2 screws that were securing this plate to the wall. Then we had 1 conduit connection, just securing the conduit to the wall so it's not just hanging loose, so you don't have any pots and pans or anything that could grab it and catch it and pull on it. So there you have it, your stovetop is all installed now. Just gonna take off the decals, clean it with the cleaner it actually came with in the box, and it's ready to go. We're gonna go fire on the breaker, turn it back on, test this thing out, make sure it works correctly. Hopefully you enjoyed this video on how to install a stovetop into a granite countertop.